So I made the video saying that they were going to amend New York State. They're going to amend the Assembly Bill A27371A, right? And this is the bill that relates to exemptions from vaccinations due to religious beliefs, and it is trying to repeal that, right? So they're trying to force vaccinations on our children. They're trying to give you no way out. I went into more explanation about this on my previous video. So what is going on? I'm trying to figure it out. So I ain't no political science major, okay? I don't really understand all this stuff, but I'm gonna do my best, okay? Like I got questions and I'm gonna answer the questions as best as I can. And if anybody else has better answers, let me know. But I do know that I feel we need to really watch what's going on. And it looks like whatever happened on the 20th is not set in stone. Like there's a way that we could do something about this. We could at least, I don't know what it is, but we could do something about this. So let's just get started with what I found. Okay, so the first thing I did was search for the bill, A02371, and this is what came up, this thing called Bill Track. So this was introduced January 22nd, 2019, and now it says that it's in committee, right? It says that it is currently in committee, right? So before we get to the in committee part, look at all of these sponsors. Aren't you interested to see who these sponsors are, what they look like, who they look like? Let's take a look. Now, what I did was I pulled all of the names of the sponsors of the bill. But initially, the first faces I want you to see are the faces that look like us. Now, I'm not accusing all of these people of knowing what they're doing. But these are the people that look like us that want to force poison into your children, whether knowingly or unknowingly. Okay? And so let's go back to the beginning here. Okay? The first one, Diana Richardson, Vivian Cook, Walter Mosley, Al Taylor, Michelle Titus, Karen Reyes. Now, Reyes, you never know. I don't know if she considers herself to be Afro-Hispanic or white Hispanic. Who knows? Her hair is very curly, though. But, so I put her last. And this is everyone else. All these people. Title of bill: An act to amend the public health law in relation to exemptions from vaccinations due to religious beliefs, to repeal the section of the public health law relating to exemptions from vaccination due to religious beliefs, and providing the repeal of certain provisions. Purpose: this bill would repeal all non-medical exemptions from vaccination requirements from children, meaning that nobody can get you out. You can't use medical, except for a doctor. And we already had a conversation about how there's not a doctor on this planet that's going to give you an exemption form. Why? Because it's not in their best interest to do so. Okay? They're getting wooed by the pharmaceutical companies, and they're all in bed together, whether they know it or not. Okay? Justification: existing New York state law requires all children in New York to receive certain immunizations for, now bear with me on these, poliomyelitis, mumps, measles, diphtheria, rubella, HIV, as in boy, hepatitis B, and varicella, which is the chickenpox, I believe. I don't understand why they call it this weird name, it's chickenpox. The law provides an exemption from the immunizations requirements where a physician certifies, where I already told you that ain't happening, that the immunizations may be detrimental to a child's health. According to the Centers for Disease Control, sustaining a high vaccination rate among school children is vital to the prevention of disease outbreaks, including reestablishment of diseases that have been largely eradicated in the United States, such as the measles. So they use that bullshit with the measles. And just think about in history, did people really die like that from measles? Like, they're giving children chickenpox vaccinations. That's what varicella is, or varicella, however you say that. It's a chickenpox vaccine. Don't you remember being a kid and your parents taking you over to your friend's house that had the chickenpox, putting you and all your siblings together so they can all get it at one time? Why do I need a vaccination for this all of a sudden? We had chickenpox parties. I remember being out of school for the chickenpox, thinking it was great, but I was itching like crazy. It was not great. It was hell. But it's just itchiness. Why are you forcing me to put this into my child if I don't want to? It's just the chickenpox. Just questions I'll be asking, okay? How? According to state data from 2013 to 2014, there are at least 285 schools in New York with an immunization rate below 85%, including 170 schools below 70%, far below the CDC's goal of at least 90% vaccination. Why is that their goal? They don't care about us any other time. Why would they care about our child getting chickenpox and the measles and the mumps? Why would they care? Why is it their goal in life? In the CDC, that is their goal. Is to get to 95%. Just think about why. So just for shits and giggles, can you die from the measles? Now, this is from the CDC now. Some people may suffer severe complications such as pneumonia, infection of the lungs, and, I can't pronounce that, swelling of the brain. They may need to be hospitalized and could die. As many of 1 out of 20 children with measles gets pneumonia, and the most common cause of death from the measles in young children. Interesting. The death rate in the 1920s was around 30% for measles pneumonia, and about 1 out of every 1,000 measles cases that progress to the acute brain swelling, which often results in permanent brain damage. 1 or 2 out of every 1,000 children who become infected with measles will die from respiratory and neurological complications. So I just want you to keep this in perspective. Let's move on. Okay, let's break this down. Now, this is the New York Times. Measles outbreak infects 695, highest number since the year 2000. Okay. This was written on April 24th, 2019. The number of measles cases in the United States has risen to 695. Now, they keep saying that this is the highest number, but we just saw the statistics. 1 in 1,000 could possibly pass away, could develop the brain swelling disease and pass away. 1 or 2 in 1,000 could possibly get pneumonia and pass away. So we're not even at 1,000. Oh, let's break it down even further. Okay, they said 695 cases in all of the United States. There are 327 million people in the United States, and we're talking about 695 people. This is not an outbreak. So in conclusion of my investigation, it looks like it's not over yet. There's still things that we could do. You guys could call your people, senators, council people, assembly people, and let them know you're not with this. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, I gave y'all multiple explanations on why this doesn't make sense. And the ultimate question that I always have about vaccinations is this. If vaccinations work and I don't get my child vaccinated, how can my child hurt your child? Your child's vaccinated already, right? Your child's safe. That's the whole point of getting the vaccination. The whole point of getting the vaccinations is to make sure that you don't get the measles, the mumps, rubella, polio, varicella, chickenpox, all these things, right? So if the vaccination does not stop me from getting this, because clearly it does not protect me from other people's children who are not vaccinated, right? So what is the point of me getting this? Until somebody can answer that question for me, logically, I don't see why you forcing me to do this. I don't see. And can't nobody give me a logical explanation. And even if you gave me one, if I don't want to do it, I have the right to not want to do it. So it's official. June 13th, they have officially ended religious exemptions for vaccinations in New York, meaning that any child to attend any kind of daycare or any type of public school will now have to be vaccinated. As I discussed earlier, the only thing you can do right now is homeschool. You probably did not hear anything about this because I remember what was prevalent on the news at the time. New York Assembly green lights driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants. Democrats in the state assembly approved a bill Wednesday that would allow undocumented immigrants to apply for a driver's license in New York, pressuring their Senate colleagues to do the same before the legislative session ends next week. The assembly voted 87 to 61 Wednesday afternoon in favor of the bill, which would allow driver's license applicants to use valid foreign documents, include foreign issued passports, to verify their identity with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Now, I'm going to give y'all a bit of advice, people who aren't here legally. If you crazy enough to document the fact that you're undocumented here in the United States, you're dumb as hell. Okay? I mean, take some advice from a black person whose ancestors have been on this land dealing with these people for hundreds of years, okay? That would be silly of you. That's number one, to believe that you could put yourself on any government list and nobody come back to scoop you. That's just a bit of advice. Aside from that, I just think it's really, really interesting that people with foreign passports are getting rights and privileges before us. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be that way, but we're kind of dying here. We're kind of being pulled out of our cars here. We're kind of being shot in our cars here. We're kind of taking naps in our cars and being shot here. And I'm just questioning why that someone who doesn't live here, who does not have an American passport, gets any rights before I can just legally drive a car without the fear of being killed. So while they were distracting you with this, they were taking away your rights and privileges and forcing your poison in the veins of all of our children. Take a look at this.
Meeting of the New York State Assembly Health Committee on June 13th, 2019. This meeting was to discuss and vote on the bill to repeal the religious exemption to vaccination in New York State, a bill that had been in place since the 1960s, a religious freedom that 20 million New Yorkers had. There are 26 people on this committee. The bill needs 14 votes to pass. If it's a 13-13 deadlock, the bill dies. And what you're about to see is a 13-13 vote in Albany, and then they change it. The bill should have died. So 20 million New Yorkers lost their right in these 5 minutes. Everyone knows that Albany is a cesspool of corruption and a history of backroom deals. But what happened here is we have it on video. It's on video. It was Facebook Live. They didn't even bother to call a recess and go in the back room and strong arm somebody. You get to see an assemblyman get strong armed in real time. So let's watch.
The Assembly Majority Conference has come to the conclusion that it wants this bill on the floor.
What Chairman Gottfried's essentially saying is the party made me do it.
Therefore, it is the responsibility of this committee to implement the majority's decision.
Watch them tally the vote. I think we'll fast forward through the actual voting, but watch what happens at the end.
Yes.
Mr. Barron?
No. All Gottfried needs to do at the end of this vote is announce it's 13-13, but they don't. There they go. Here's Speaker Hasty. Hearing from the aide, it's a deadlock vote. There's the key moment. There is Hasty summoning someone from the table and pointing. So he's like, come here, you, come here. And he comes, because that's his boss. There's a conference between the assemblyman who's being strong-armed and Hasty. We need an investigation under oath to find out what was discussed there. Now, because on record, Mr. Sage had already voted no, and he whispered to the chairman that he's changing his mind to yes, the chairman makes him articulate that yes, to put it on the record. And you're about to see an absurd speech from Mr. Sage about how much he likes individual rights and religious freedom while he's taking them away.
Mr. Sage, I just need you to say out loud. You said it was solely for the purpose of moving the bill to the floor.
I just wanted to make a statement. I think this is an important bill, an important issue. And all along, as a student of constitutional law, I've always represented and protected individual rights and religious rights. And as an educator, parental choice is very important for me. And although I would go on record as saying I will vote no on the floor on this bill, but I really feel the public and the Assembly at large deserves an opportunity to vote on this matter. So I'd like to vote in favor of allowing this to go on vote on the floor.
Thank you. The bill is reported 14 yes, 13.
There it is. In that moment, 13-13 vote went to 14-12. So Gottfried was strong-armed, Sage was strong-armed, and New Yorkers around the state lost a right. This vote was June 13th. On June 12th, the day before this vote, it was announced that a Merck subsidiary was investing $48 million in the Albany area and bringing 115 jobs. And this bill will directly improve Merck's revenue. We need to look at the communications that the people involved in this heist, what communications did they have with industry, with lobbyists. We need subpoena power to find that out. This is taking away a religious freedom. It's the first freedom in the First Amendment, and it is articulated in the New York State Constitution as a right that New Yorkers can have forever. Forever never ends. Forever did not end on June 13, 2019. There's an Albany Public Corruption Unit of the FBI already in place, trying to look for corruption. You don't have to look for this one. Here it is right here. Just email it to them, right? Email this. There's a petition. Send this video and the request for an investigation to any media outlet you can. And it doesn't have to be in New York. Like, this is a national issue. The pharmaceutical lobby is trying to take away religious freedom all over the country. So the best thing you can do to stop this from happening in your state is to expose the unholy alliance between the pharmaceutical industry and the government.
And sign up for free text alerts. You can find the link in my bio or in the description.